And we are live. Hello, what's happening, everybody? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and welcome to one of my very first live streams and one of my first group collaborations as we continue on the road to WrestleMania. This is part 3 of our group collaboration series we're doing called Mania Memories, where we talk about a topic each week. This week we'll be talking about our top 10 favorite WrestleMania performers. And with me this week, we only have just 3 of our 4 horsemen. Our friend Daniel Guy was unable to make it with us this week. But first, we've got Gene from BSP Wrestling. Gene, great to have you on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Always great to have a conversation with you guys.
Thank you, man. And also, we've got Robbie One Kenobi. Robbie, good to have you as well, man.
Thank you, Mike. It feels so good to be back. What is up, YouTube? What is up, my horsemen brethren? I'm back.
Oh, you always got it going, Robbie. So I'll be back. Robbie's back after a week absence. So before we get started with our top 10 WrestleMania performers, Robbie, since you were not able to be with us last week, would you like to briefly share with us your top 10 WrestleMania moments that you had ready for last week?
Yeah, I definitely would. So these are my top 10 favorite WrestleMania moments. I'm gonna go through them real quick. Number 10 is the inaugural WrestleMania main event, simply because that was a fun main event. It was Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and you had just a lot of that was the main selling point of WrestleMania. I feel like without that main event success and the success of the first WrestleMania in general, we wouldn't get WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, and so forth up to now, WrestleMania 33. So there was a lot of build, a lot of hype for that main event. You had Muhammad Ali in it as a special enforcer. It was just a magical night in Madison Square Garden. And like I said, it's a good, fun main event for the most part. And if it was not for that main event, we would not have WrestleManias in the future. So that was a very important part of wrestling history and a very important part of WrestleMania history. And it's one of my favorites looking back at it. Like I said, the star power. You had Mr. T, who was red hot at the time, teaming up with Hulk Hogan, arguably the hottest wrestling star in that era, against 2 of the biggest, heels and Piper and Orndorff. Everything just was perfect about that main event. So that's number 10 on my list. Number 9 is the Ballad of Daniel Bryan from WrestleMania 30. You guys were talking about it last week, how Daniel Bryan went through all this shit with the Authority to finally get a chance to have a WrestleMania moment. He had to go through Triple H, beat him in a hell of an opener, and then got blindsided by Triple H, who violently assaulted him, and you didn't know if he was going to even be in the triple threat match later on for the championship. And despite everything he went through, getting RKO and Batista bomb through a table, all the screwy referees and whatnot, Daniel Bryan, overcame the odds. He beat Triple H in the beginning. He made Batista tap out, and he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Fitting end into a fit in WrestleMania because, like one of you guys, I think it was Gene who said this, it had Daniel Bryan lost and then Taker's streak ended. That WrestleMania would have been shitting on forever. So
pretty much, yeah. Could have been the saddest WrestleMania ever.
So happy Daniel Bryan got his WrestleMania moment, a fitting conclusion to what was quite a compelling storyline that started all the way back at SummerSlam, and it was just an incredible moment for him. Incredible opening match, exciting main event, and Daniel, the miracle on Bourbon Street, as Michael Cole called it. So it was an awesome moment for Daniel Bryan. Number 8 is, Pete Rose getting tombstone for the first time at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
I just can hear JR calling it now. That moment was just, Pete Rose was running down Boston and everything. And keep in mind, Kane was the heel going into the match with Taker. But once Kane tombstone Pete Rose, Kane turned face for like 5 seconds or something. But it's one of those moments you see again and again. And it led to Pete Rose coming back the next year dressed as a San Diego chicken, trying to hit Kane with a baseball bat. And Kane stopped him and tombstoned him again. And then came WrestleMania 2000, where the same damn chicken showed up after, Kane,
oh my gosh,
Road Dogg and X-Pac, and Kane was not having it. Kane thought it was Pete Rose, and come to find out, Pete Rose was behind him with another baseball bat, and that time he got choke slammed and he took a stink face. So one moment led to another moment, which led to another moment. So continuity right there. But of course, Pete Rose getting tombstoned after he was, running down Boston. And he was talking about he left tickets for, I forgot the guy's name, but he couldn't bend over to pick him up. And then,
Yeah, I remember that. That was hilarious.
Oh, poor Pete.
Pete Rose just got tombstone.
Oh man.
That's priceless.
Oh yes.
Number 7 on my list is the end of an era from WrestleMania 28. You know, that match, of course, was it was awesome. It was emotional. It was intense. It was brutal. And in the end, you know, after Triple H, he got hit with a sledgehammer. He took the tombstone. You know, the fact, you know, you had Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Undertaker all embracing each other. 3 of the biggest names of the Attitude Era. You know, we thought it was the end of an era. And of course, you know, Triple H and Taker have gone on to wrestle, but still that moment itself is awesome just to see 3 icons embracing each other like that, carrying, you know, helping each other up on the stage. Just an awesome moment, you know, to cap off what was an awesome match. And like I said, it was an emotional match because you had Taker taking all those brutal chair shots, Shawn Michaels almost screwing Taker out of the win, you know, with the super kick and the pedigree combo. And, you know, Shawn sitting in the corner with his hands up, like, because he just tried to screw the devil over. It was just everything about that match was awesome. And then the best way to end it was those 3 embracing each other at the top of the ramp, the stage. And like Taker said in Triple H's documentary, they don't have many years left in them. So it's a moment like that that makes me proud to be a wrestling fan. And it's just that has like those are 3 of my all-time favorites right there. So you couldn't ask for a better moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
At number 6 from WrestleMania 32, I have the Women's Revolution taking center stage. You know, Lita introduced revealing the new Women's Championship was awesome. Bye-bye butterfly strap on a butterfly 10 on a strap. That was awesome.
Nice.
Because going into Mania, I just really, you know, I was watching NXT and the women were having just great matches, and then I was watching the main roster and the main roster was having shit. And it was why can't the women on the main roster, especially because when Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha came over, why couldn't they be doing the things that the women on NXT are doing? So I heard the rumors that the Women's Championship would be brought back, the Divas Championship would be null and void. And when I saw the Women's Championship, you know what? Even though it was basically the WWE Heavyweight Championship with a white strap and a red, you know, red background, I liked it because it was because it was 100 times better than the butterfly belt. And it just, you know, to me, it was like saying, you know what, we want the women are equal to the men. So that was great. And then the match itself was not only incredible, but it was the best match of the night last year at WrestleMania. And I was so happy for Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky to share that moment together. And yeah, you know, say what you will about the Raw Women's Championship because it is the hot potato championship. But overall, that was still awesome. I was so happy for them. And like I said, the women got to go out there and steal the show. So the Women's Revolution, you know, was front and center. And like I said, awesome match, incredible match. And it was the best match of the night last year at WrestleMania 32. And it was fitting that it was 3 of the 4 horsewomen stealing the show after everything they did in NXT.
Yes, definitely. Great pick. I think I even got that on my list also, too. So
yeah.
Nice.
At number 5, I have the reunion of Macho Man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth from WrestleMania 7.
Yeah.
Obviously, I talked about how awesome the match between Warrior and Savage was, the retirement match. And then I briefly brought up the reunion of Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. And, you know, Savage and Liz are one of the most iconic duos in WWE. Before Billy Kay and Peyton Royce became the iconic duo, and I love them, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, they're good. I love them, too.
Yeah, they're great together.
Yes.
Yeah, but Savage and Liz, they were one of like the first real iconic duos in the WWE. So after everything that happened, you know, Macho Man losing the championship and his issues with Elizabeth, and then him moving on to Sensational Sherry, who became Queen Sherry after Macho Man won the King of the Ring. You know, when you see Liz just jump the guardrail to save Savage after Queen Sherry's just attacking him after he lost that, you know, that incredible retirement match. And then, you know, Savage turns around after Liz is able to actually like get physical with Sherry, and he thinks it's Liz who was attacking him, but he looks around and sees her, and then they hug and they reunite, and the emotion that generated from the crowd, you know, like you have people in the front crying and everything, that was just great. The fact that little reunion produced so much emotion from the crowd, that showed you how invested they were. And that showed you how significant and how iconic Savage and Liz were in the WWF. So it's a beautiful moment. one of my all-time favorites in WrestleMania history, beautiful WrestleMania moment. And of course, you got Bobby Heenan, and I've mentioned Bobby Heenan before, talking about, he talks about some of the people who are crying, and he's like, maybe your shoes are too tight.
Oh gosh,
Bobby was great.
Chili dog with onions is just priceless.
oh man,
That embrace was everything, man.
it
That-
was, yes.
And then the fact that he lifted her up on his shoulder again, and he held the ropes up for her. That was beautiful, So that was an awesome moment, beautiful moment. But I had to bring up those Bobby Heenan comments because only he would say that kind of shit during something that beautiful.
Yes,
Oh,
only
yes.
him. Only he would do something like that.
And that's a testament to his brilliance. Don't get me wrong. At number 4, I believe Gene had this on his list. It is, from WrestleMania 24, and it was a very emotional moment. And the best way to sum it up is those 5 words: "I'm sorry, I love you."
Yes.
I mean, yes. Everything that happened in that match between Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, he kept hesitating because he knew if he pulled the trigger and he hit one more sweet chin music, he'd also end Idol's career. And he was hesitant, but then he realized he had no choice. And just to see him say, "I'm sorry, I love you," and then bang, hit the super kick, was emphatic, emotional, and it was the perfect ending. It was sad, but it was the perfect ending to that match because like you guys were saying, Shawn had a history of being hesitant and being put in those situations where if he did this, it was going to have this effect, and he didn't want to do this match. But then eventually he did the old Yeller segment and everything, and then when it came down to it, and you see that look in Shawn's face, it's like he doesn't want to do it, but you see that look in his face when he says, "I'm sorry, I love you," and he hits it, and just the emotion it elicited from the crowd was incredible. It was a very emotional moment. But if Ric Flair was going to go out on his horse, he was going to go out fighting, with his hands up, and who better to do it than the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels? So that's number 4 on my list.
That was great.
Yes,
and then I think when he pinned him, he hugged him.
Yeah,
it was like a weird pin. So he
exactly. Yeah.
at the same time. So I remember that.
Yeah. Number 3 is the Bret Hart Steve Austin double turn from WrestleMania 13.
Oh yes.
The iconic shot of Austin in the sharpshooter with the blood running down his face, refusing to give up, refusing to tap out, and the fact that he didn't tap out, he passed out, and Bret Hart, who was starting to become a heel, he was talking about people screwing him over, and he was doing all this shit, shoving Vince McMahon on his ass, that infamous, this is bullshit rant, which I love from that episode of Raw. Their feud was so, even though they respected each other, storyline wise, it was so personal between these guys, and it came down to this match where one of them was going to have to give up or tap out, and Bret busting Austin over the head with the ring bell, and just the fact that after the match he attacked Austin more, and it took Ken Shamrock to get him off. That was great, and Bret was getting booed, and the fans appreciated Austin's efforts that night, and that's what ultimately set Steve Austin on the road to superstardom, and eventually his big win at WrestleMania 14, which ultimately made him the top dog of the industry. But that's an iconic match, an iconic double turn, and I don't think you could have done it any better with Bret becoming a heel, especially after all the shit he'd been put through by Austin. And you would think Austin would be the one the fans would boo, but they were starting to love Austin, and Bret was starting to turn heel. So that was perfect, with Bret continuing to beat Austin down even after Austin is passed out bloody. I mean, that was great. And from there, everything was just smooth sailing for Stone Cold as he became, like I said, the top dog in the company. And speaking of that moment from WrestleMania 14, that's number 2 on my list, the Austin era beginning. So happy when Stone Cold won the championship. And of course, you have JR's iconic call of "Stone Cold, Stone Cold" when Austin
Oh yes.
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
it was just awesome because from there he became the biggest name in the Attitude Era. He was the new face, the top dog, and even after his unfortunate injury, well, he had gotten injured after that, but after he had to go on surgery, on his neck in '99 when they did the whole him getting run over angle. He was still one of the biggest names in the Attitude Era, and ultimately that launching point was here at WrestleMania 14 when his journey, however long it was, ultimately culminated with him becoming the champion. He was the big money maker. He was the top merchandise seller, and this was that ultimate culmination. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of my favorite moments to look back on. Him hitting the stunner on Shawn Michaels, JR's call, Mike Tyson making the 3 count, and just the Austin era has begun. And of course, Shawn Michaels getting laid out by Mike Tyson.
Oh yeah, that right hand.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
Yep. And then number 1 on my list is very similar to Daniel's number 1. It was my WrestleMania 31 weekend experience. I've done videos about it, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just going to my very first WrestleMania here in the Bay Area in San Jose, Levi Stadium.
Oh, you were there for that one.
Yep, that was a good one to go to.
Seth Rollins.
Yes, that was going to be number 1 originally. Seth Rollins cashing in, but then I thought about it, WrestleMania 31, from going to Access for Thursday and Friday, meeting wrestlers like, Rusev, The New Day, Rosa Mendes, Layla, Ascension, going to, seeing Hideo Itami wrestle Finn Balor in the tournament final that aired a couple weeks later on NXT. Do you remember that from Access?
Yeah, I remember.
I think so, yes.
I got to see that. I got to see the memorabilia, went to WrestleCon, met a bunch of people, bunch of great people, and then WrestleMania itself. Moments like Daniel Bryan winning the Intercontinental Championship, Randy Orton sick as hell, RKO out of nowhere, Seth Rollins getting major air. Seeing Undertaker in person was awesome. Cena versus Rusev was a really good match. Getting to see the Bella Twins, AJ Lee, Paige. Turn the page, wash your hands.
Well, it's just something you got to tell us here, Xavier.
Oh man,
let's talk about WrestleMania.
I love Paige. I just had to make that joke. I'm sorry. You guys remember Rocco's Modern Life?
Yes, I remember that cartoon.
Yeah. And seeing The Rock and Ronda Rousey, and then the main event between Brock and Roman was really good. It was just a fierce fight. And then of course, the moment that I marked out the most for, jumping out of my seat and shit, Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank. The one freaking moment I really wish I would have had some kind of video footage of, because my freaking camera died on me. But just an incredible experience. And my goal is to go to another WrestleMania, because that experience at WrestleMania 31 is what WrestleMania is all about. So those are my top 10 moments from WrestleMania.
Very good list, especially WrestleMania 31. That one is so overlooked, I'd say, because the booking to that was the build was really crap for several of those matches, but the show itself actually really produced, I felt, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that was what I was concerned about, because I didn't want. I was hoping my first WrestleMania wasn't gonna be a shit mania with the shit build, but everything delivered. Everything.
Oh, yes.
So was really happy with how everything played out, and just the weekend itself, going to Access, going to WrestleCon, and meeting all these wrestlers and seeing them live was just incredible.
Oh yes, definitely.
And walking into Levi's too, when you and Dan walked into MetLife, walking into Levi's and just seeing the setup and everything. And I even got to see Booker T, Corey Graves, Booty Saxton, and Renee Young host the pre-show. I even got to see him host the pre-show live. We were watching from the sides, so that was really cool. And a lot of people were giving Byron Saxton shit, man. They were saying he sucked and everything, and I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets a ton of that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Booker T, though, he got the most response from the audience. People were asking him to do a spin-a-rooney.
Oh my goodness,
dude, he would have broke his freaking neck.
It was great. So those are my top 10 favorite Mania moments.
Definitely, and we all hope to get to WrestleMania someday as well. Haven't had the experience yet, so
the 4 Horsemen are hoping to take over WrestleMania, y'all.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh man.
All right, so thank you, Robbie. That's a very good list, very interesting list indeed as well. So now let's get on to the today's topic, which is the top 10 WrestleMania performers. These are our top 10 people who have a good history at WrestleMania or whatnot. So we'll go around. We'll rotate the order, though, as well, just to, change up a little bit. So, Gene, let's start with you. Who is your number 10 on your top 10 WrestleMania performers list?
Okay, my number 10, and probably from 5 to 10, you guys are probably going to be like, man, these are like top 5 guys. My number 10 is Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
And that could be, somebody's number 1 on their list, to be honest, but he was just one of the men who helped revolutionize WrestleMania, being in the first couple of them, and, just the impact he had on the company. He was, the John Cena of the company before John Cena was probably even thought of. Like I said, he was at the first WrestleMania. He was in the first main event. I think it was him and Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's had a ton of iconic matches at WrestleMania. Him slamming Andre at WrestleMania 3, him and The Rock going toe-to-toe at 18. And, after that match, when he turned face and everything, got, away from the NWO. Just, a pretty good WrestleMania performer, and number 10 on my list.
Not bad of a pick at all. Robbie, who's your number 10?
So real quick, I just want to say, in coming up with this list, first off, I just want to say congratulations to all 10 men that I will be honoring in this video. And gentlemen, I just got to say, in honoring you as my top 10 WrestleMania performers, shoot. Oh, we're having technical difficulties again. Shoot. Okay.
Oh, well.
Anyway, I am sorry.
You just made the list.
That's indeed.
There it is.
And all made the list. Yes. Okay. So coming in at number 10 is Triple H. Like I said a few minutes ago, Triple H is one of my all-time favorites. In coming up with this list, I looked at the 10 performers whose matches I like to go back and watch the most, the performers who had some great moments of WrestleMania history, like, moments that are some of my personal favorites. And for me, Triple H, one thing that always stands out to me about Triple H is he always comes out with a colorful entrance. WrestleMania 31, he did the Terminator entrance, which was so awesome. I had heard from a friend that his entrance was Terminator themed because Terminator Genesis was coming out around that time, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, was going into the Hall of Fame. His WrestleMania 31 entrance with the Terminator armor and everything was awesome. At 30, he did the Game of Thrones entrance.
Yes.
Which is very epic. Yeah, especially WrestleMania 30. 28 and 29, he did that Castle Grayskull entrance. A la He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That was great. 27, though, was always my favorite Triple H WrestleMania entrance because he came out with the skull mask looking like freaking Shao Kahn. I always enjoy, and him coming out to the song To Whom the Bell Tolls, or For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica in that match with Taker, because you thought maybe that was going to be the night that the streak ended.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome. And again, he's had good to great matches throughout his WrestleMania run. I love the triple threat match he was in with Benoit and HBK at WrestleMania 20. Arguably the best triple threat in WrestleMania history. He had a very good underrated match with John Cena at 22, where he was clearly the fan favorite, and the fans turned on Cena. And who can forget that iconic moment where Triple H does "You Can't See Me" and then he tells Cena to suck it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suck it, because you can't see me.
That was awesome. And then, he also had those 2 awesome matches with Taker, like we were saying, like we've said before. End of an Era was just something incredible, and it was brutal, and it was emotional. And, some people may shit on the match he had with Brock at 29. I thought it was a very good no-holds-barred match for the most part. So Triple H, he's had his fair share of good and somewhat not good matches. He's had great matches. But like I said, he's just one of my all-time favorites. He's had good to great matches here and there. But what always stands out to me about Triple H is he always likes to put on a great entrance when it comes to WrestleMania. And, last year, nice entrance with all those minions with the skull masks. It could have been a little better, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to bring to the table this year, especially against Seth Rollins. So number 10, Triple H, like I was saying, because I had good to great matches. I love whenever he does a colorful entrance for WrestleMania. And, he's one of my all-time favorites, and he's been a part of some big moments. So number 10 is Triple H.
Good pick, definitely. It definitely has probably, so far from the WrestleManias I've seen, some of the best entrants, I'd say, by Triple H, definitely.
Yeah.
So my number 10. Now, for my list, I had to do a little bit of research since, again, I haven't been watching as long as you guys, but I am happy with how my list came out. But there was 8 that I was instantly able to put down pretty quickly, and then the last 2 I was struggling. So 2 of these I kind of looked into 2 different things. My number 10 was one of them. Was I wanted to include someone who's current but doesn't have a whole lot of WrestleMania experience, but not too little. More of a rising star. If I could pick one person who's still fresh in their career, who would that be? I'd say, and that's Seth Rollins. I made him my number 10 because of his battles when he was with the Shield. They won both their WrestleMania matches. They won at 29 against Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus, which again, that was a mediocre WrestleMania, but give them credit. They fended off 3 veterans with experience, some future Hall of Famers probably, and Big Show and possibly Randy Orton. Not so sure about Sheamus for the Hall of Fame, but still he's a good experienced veteran. And then of course at WrestleMania 30, they blew out Kane and New Age Outlaws again. Definitely Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, legends. That was fun to see them to just destroy it to them. One of the shorter matches, I think, of the night altogether, in my opinion.
That was a squash match.
It really was.
Pretty much, yeah. But with how over the Shield was at that time, it was something we didn't mind seeing, I'd say, in my opinion at least. And then of course his match at WrestleMania 31 with Randy Orton, despite losing it, put on a great performance, especially the airtime he got whenever he got nailed that RKO, and of course him cashing in Money in the Bank. Probably besides Daniel Bryan winning the title, one of the biggest moments my second favorite moment at WrestleMania, I'd say. And of course this year I expect great things from this match, his unsanctioned match with Triple H at WrestleMania 33 as well. So my number 10 is Seth Rollins.
It's a great choice, considering, like you said, you haven't been watching as long as we have, but this is why this is your list. That's a great choice because Seth Rollins is a hell of a performer.
Yeah,
right. Yes,
definitely.
All right, so let's move on now to our number 9 pick, and we'll start with you this time, Robbie. Who was your number 9?
Number 9 on my list, and it's ironic, is Chris Jericho. Nice. When Jericho arrived in WWF in 2000, I quickly became a big in 99, but in 2000 I quickly became a big fan of Chris Jericho, and he's another one who's had a lot of good to great matches in WrestleMania history. One of my personal favorites is Money in the Bank from WrestleMania 21, the match he invented himself. Jericho, he always puts on a great performance. No matter, whether the match is good, solid, decent, or great, he always puts on a great performance. Just look back at his match. I mean, it was a handicap match, but really the how do I say this? The real match of the handicap match was between him and Ricky Steamboat. Steamboat looked incredible for as old as he was. Jericho, of course, doing his thing. Jericho, in trying to come up with these performers, like I said, I looked at the ones whose matches I go back and watch a lot, the ones who really meant a lot to me growing up as a fan, with WrestleMania. And Jericho, the one match that is one of my all-time favorites, and it was on my favorite Mania matches list, is him and Shawn Michaels for WrestleMania 19. If there's one Chris Jericho match, I go back and just watch again and again and again and never get disappointed, just love it every time. It's him and Shawn Michaels, because it was 2 of the all-time greats going head-to-head. Young Lion versus Old Lion. They're very similar in their styles and everything. And that's what WrestleMania is all about. The best fighting the best. Icons battling icons, legacies being formed. And, it was an awesome match. And again, like Gene and I were talking about, the fact that in that match, after everything that happened, anything Jericho was going to give Shawn his respect, and then he kicks him in the nuts, and Jericho, what a Blake Nash cheap shot.
That was just epic.
It was.
Yes. Now, Jericho is also responsible for another one of my favorite WrestleMania matches, which never gets talked about or rarely gets talked about, and that was when he battled Christian at WrestleMania 20. I feel like that is such an underrated match, such a hidden gem in WrestleMania history. Jericho and Christian put on a great wrestling match,
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
No one talks about that match. Only Jericho and Christian talked about it briefly in Jericho's DVD.
Yeah, that's a very underrated match as well.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, I didn't have Jericho on my list. He's definitely honorable mention, probably number 11 to be honest.
Same for me as well.
Jericho, to me, I feel like when he goes out there, he embodies what WrestleMania is, as with his persona, with his athleticism, his performances. I mean, last year he had an awesome match with AJ Styles, at 32. And, he's been the world champion before going into WrestleMania. At 18, of course, he was undisputed champion. 26, he was world champion. 28, he battled Punk for the WWE Championship. Remember, Mike, when he was daring Punk to hit him like, your father's a drunk! Your father's a drunk! Or, how's she doing? Huh?
I love that.
And I feel like his persona, his athleticism, and everything embody what WrestleMania is all about. He's a true WrestleMania. He embodies what a WrestleMania performer is all about. So he's definitely one of my favorites. A lot of the guys on my list are all-time favorites. But yeah, number 9 is Jericho. He is he's the Ayatollah of rock and roll. He's had great matches and moments throughout. And yes, Chris Jericho.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Almost got KO on their last.
Yes, Chris Jericho for the first time ever. You, my friend, you just made the list.
There it is.
Oh, yes. All right, so I will actually go second, and then we'll hand over to Gene. But my number 9 is actually CM Punk. May sound a little overrated since he never got to main event WrestleMania, but well, listen to these numbers, this stuff he's done at WrestleMania. 2-time Money in the Bank winner. He had okay matches with Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton. But of course, as I mentioned, you said before, Robbie, I loved his match with Jericho with the stipulation of if he lost the title. I mean, if he got disqualified, he lost the title, and Punk just being just a complete jerk he is, just trying to crawl up his skin about his personal matters with his family.
Your father's a drunk! Your father's
oh my goodness. Hit me in the head, Punk! Hit me in the head, Punk! and then, of course, as I also said, at WrestleMania 29 also, which is the first WrestleMania I ever watched. I mean, I know Dan went there. It would have been nice to go with him, but I was watching it back at home with some friends. But his match against The Undertaker as well. His last ever WrestleMania match, which we did not know at that time, was an instant classic as well. So he's accomplished a lot despite never main event WrestleMania. So that's why I put him as my number 9.
Him and Undertaker should have main evented that WrestleMania.
They should have, yes.
And that was one of the main reasons he left the company, because they tried to tell him that was the main event, but it was not the main event.
No, definitely.
He's like, I'm not stupid. I know what the main event is. It's the last match, and I deserve it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, definitely. He and Taker should have been the main event. Or if they weren't going to be the main event and Punk was still the champion, it should have been Punk versus Cena or Punk versus Rock versus Cena. Should have been not twice in a lifetime. I feel like twice in a lifetime that should have not been a WrestleMania main event. It should have never ever happened in the first place. Once in a lifetime was special. Twice in a lifetime,
man.
Yeah, it just ruined the whole point of it, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
Gene, what was your number 9?
My number 9 is Robbie's number 10 pick. The Game, Triple H.
Yes.
Definitely one of my favorite performers of all time. And I know a lot of people have like a lot of mixed reviews on Triple H. Like some of his matches they find, quite boring or something. It's just the style that he wrestles, which I can, really appreciate sometimes because, he slows down the match a lot and he's very methodical in the way that he goes about, being in the ring and stuff. And, for such a big guy, he just tries to wear you down in a way that you wouldn't expect a guy like him to do. And, while doing other things as well. So, he's had, like Robbie said, multiple great moments in WrestleMania. He's main evented a bunch of them. Him and Jericho had a match, I think, what was that, 18? Where they main evented. That was a very underrated match, to be honest with you. When Jericho actually had Stephanie by his side, which was pretty hilarious. Stephanie took a pedigree that match. And that was like after him coming off of ACL or MCL surgery when he tore his knee up. Yeah. And, finally just reclaiming the throne and, being out there and just doing what he does best. And he's definitely one of my favorite all time and definitely at WrestleMania. And like you said, at 22, him and Cena had that match. And, oh, my goodness, that was a hell of a match. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just enjoy his style of wrestling, and he's definitely one of my favorite Mania performers.
And if I could add something that I forgot to add about Triple H, like another one of my favorite matches was the very first match he had with Undertaker at WrestleMania 17. And
they were younger.
Yes.
When they think Triple H and Taker, they think 27 when Triple H barely broke the streak, like barely broke the streak. You know, when Tombstone Taker and Taker kicked out.
Oh man,
Let's say that when Taker barely won because he was like he had to resort to the last gate or Hell's Gate to beat Triple H. But their match at WrestleMania 17, which is a flat-out fight, was great. It's one of my favorites to go back and watch. So yeah, that's another. I think that's another underrated match in WrestleMania history. That's an underrated Triple H and Taker match right there.
Yeah, definitely. They don't really talk about that match as much as they talk about, you know, the other one.
I just love that moment where Taker's going for the last ride and Triple H has a sledgehammer and then cracks him in the head when he goes up for it.
Oh man, yes.
Brutal.
Yes.
Oh yes. Well, we are off to a good start here with our number 9 and 10 picks. So let's move to our number 8 picks, which I'll start off this round. So my number 8 was actually one of the second people, as I said earlier, who I was struggling to find the last 2 people for this list. So my number 8, I wanted to go with a female wrestler. So I did some research and I came across this list of the top 15 women's matches at WrestleMania. And the one who actually came up 4 times, I noticed, was Trish Stratus. And the 4 matches that were on those lists, which one of them I actually have remembered watching back on the network, and it's probably one of my favorite ones to watch. Well, first one, there was her match against Christy Aheme at WrestleMania 21, if I pronounced that right. I am sorry. The triple threat against Jazz and Victoria, the triple threat with Jazz and Lita, and then the one that I have remembered seeing before going back on the network to watch, which was number 1 on this list that I saw, was her match against Psycho Mickie James at WrestleMania 22.
Oh my God.
I believe Mickie won that match if I'm not mistaken, but still, definitely probably one of the better women's matches in WrestleMania history. And because of that, I put Trish Stratus as my number 8.
That's a nice choice. I totally forgot about Trish's moments at WrestleMania.
I didn't even think of any women. Oh man, that's messed up.
I didn't.
Great choice though. At least you got her.
Oh yes,
that's a great pick right there. I like that. I like seeing like unexpected picks that none of us see coming. So that's a great pick right there. And yeah, we could just say, even though this is about Trish Stratus, we can just say Mickie got the grab that night, if you know what I mean.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Oh, she got it all right.
Yeah, she got it.
Oh yes. Let's go with Gene. Gene, what was your number 8 pick?
My number 8 pick, another great WrestleMania performer. Probably one people don't really talk about either, except for, you know, the few moments that he's had, which is the Rated R Superstar. Yes, man. I loved Edge at WrestleMania, man. He's been in all sorts of matches. He's had, I think, a total of 4 ladder matches at WrestleMania, the 2 TLC matches, and then I think he's been in 2 Money in the Bank matches. I'm not sure if he won both Money in the Banks. I think he only won 1. I'm not too sure on the second one. I know he won the first one.
He won the first one. Mr. Kennedy won the other one he was in.
That was at 23, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But, you know, they were all good performances there. And even his one-on-one matches, like his one against Undertaker, I think at 24, that was a great match, just in my opinion. And then that iconic hardcore match he had with Foley at 23. I feel like he's very appreciated, you know, when you talk about great WrestleMania performers. So he's definitely had to make my list.
Yeah, that's a great pick, definitely.
Yes, definitely. You've just made the list, Edge.
You just made the list.
All right, Robbie.
Wait. If we're gonna do you just made the list, then of course, gentlemen, there's only one man who's fit to do that.
You just made the list.
Yes, that never gets old. All
It
those
never gets
phrases, they just never get old. Jericho says things of gold right off the top of his head. Robbie, what's your number 8?
All right, so my number 8 for favorite WrestleMania performers. It's a guy that really doesn't have much of a WrestleMania legacy. He's had, good to great matches throughout WrestleMania. But why he's on my list is, aside from the good to great matches, he's just been very exciting to watch, and he's always been one of my favorites since I was a kid, and he's definitely in my top 5 of favorite wrestlers of all time, and that is Rey Mysterio Jr.
I like that pick.
Every single match that Rey Mysterio Jr. has had at WrestleMania, I've always rooted for him. Against Matt Hardy at 19, the Cruiserweight Open in 20, against Eddie Guerrero at 21, in what was my opinion, one of the best openers of WrestleMania history, one of the most exciting openers of WrestleMania history, and that storyline of Eddie just wanting to know, can he beat Rey, was great. I rooted for him in the triple threat match for the world title at 22. I rooted for him in the Intercontinental Championship match against JBL in 25, which lasted, I don't remember how many seconds, but
I quit.
Right.
and I rooted for him against Punk at 26 and Cody Rhodes at 27. So Rey is one of those guys who I don't think there's ever been a match where I didn't want to see him win. I always wanted to see him win. He was, even as his time in WWE was winding down, he was still exciting to watch. You never knew what he was gonna do. And like Triple H, he always did something very colorful and unique at WrestleMania in terms of his ring gear. He always wore colorful ring gear. He was Daredevil at 19, The Flash at 20. He had custom made designer outfits for 21 and 22. I forgot who made them, but they were very unique. At 25, he dressed like the Joker from The Dark Knight with the suspenders and all. At 26, he dressed like Avatar. 27, he was Captain America. So Rey has just been very colorful, and he's always done something unique at WrestleMania, be it a move or, of course, his ring gear. Rey's just always been exciting to watch, ever since I was a kid. And like I said, his WrestleMania legacy may not be talked about a lot, but he's had good to great matches. I really can't think of a bad Rey Mysterio match at WrestleMania. And yeah, I've just always been a fan of his unique ring gear. Like I think the Flash was my favorite that he did superhero-wise. But the one outfit he wore at WrestleMania 21 against Eddie Guerrero was very colorful. So number 8 on my list, because he's just exciting and he always brings something unique to the table, be it a move or an outfit that he wears in his match, Rey Mysterio Jr.
Definitely a great pick there, I'd say. I didn't even think of that one.
Right.
Oh, yes.
He's underrated as ever. I didn't even consider him. How did I forget about Rey?
Yeah.
WrestleMania, when I think of Rey Mysterio, I was thinking about that triple threat match against Angle and Orton when he won the title for Eddie. But yeah, great pick there, Robbie.
Definitely.
Moving on to number 7 now. Let's go back to Gene. You start us off at number 7.
Okay, my number 7 pick. Don't come at me the wrong way, because this guy could arguably be the number 1 WrestleMania performer ever. Arguably.
Oh boy.
I feel like, or he's at least top 3. Okay, but he's number 7 on my list, and he is the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. Now, like I said, he could be 1, 2, or 3 on this list.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know why I put him down so low, to be honest. Like, I don't think he's really had a bad match. I guess maybe it's just his longevity. He didn't really, I don't think he's been in a ton of WrestleManias, but, because he left the company or whatever. But he's definitely a hell of a performer, one of the best wrestlers of all time. And he has some great matches while he was in the WWE. A very underrated match with Kane at 18, which I actually went back and watched like a few days ago. Like you were just talking about with Rey Mysterio, that triple threat match at 22. The triple threat with Benoit and Jericho at WrestleMania 2000. Just one-on-one matches he had with Shawn and Benoit. And who could forget when him and Brock Lesnar did work at WrestleMania 19 and Brock almost killed himself.
Yeah.
But Brock took the title off of him. Yeah, we were talking about that last week. But he's definitely a great performer, and it didn't matter who he had as his opponent. He definitely looked good and made them look good as well. Except for that shooting star press, but that was we're not gonna talk about that.
Oh yeah. Great pick there, Gene. Great number 7 as well. Let's go with you, Robbie. Again, what's your number 7?
So number 7 on my list is a tag team. And, this tag team was arguably my favorite of the 3 teams in Mania history that ultimately revolutionized the tag team division with their incredible matches, and that is, of course, the Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys have always been my favorite tag team in professional wrestling. And like I said, between them, the Dudley Boys, and Edge Christian, I like the Dudleys, I like Edge and Christian, but the Hardys were always my favorite team because they were always doing the craziest things with ladders, especially Jeff Hardy. This guy was not afraid to take any risks at WrestleMania when it came to a ladder, whether he dove off one, did a swanton bomb on a Bubba Ray through the table at WrestleMania 2000, or he did the same thing to Spike Dudley and Rhino at 17, or he did that crazy, leg drop / dive onto Edge through a ladder at 23. Jeff Hardy.
Crazy.
Jeff Hardy, of course, was the daredevil of the group, but the Hardy Boys in general, just the things they did in the ladder matches was awesome, was crazy, was just OMG. You know what I'm saying? And then, I did see their Extreme Rules match at 25, which I thought was good. I thought it was solid. Of course, what was it? Jeff Hardy went for, I think, a leg drop off the top of the ladder, and he missed. And then he took a twist of fate with a chair around his neck.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, I think I remember seeing that in highlights. Yes.
Yeah, that was insane. So yeah, the I can't really think of too many standout moments for the Hardy Boys as singles competitors, but I'll always remember them for their contributions as tag team wrestlers. And of course, those TLC matches are always iconic. They're always some of my favorites. And even the things they did in Money in the Bank 2007 when they weren't they were still a team. They were still a team, but they were in that match together, and freaking Jeff Hardy decides to dive off a ladder on the Edge and take themselves out of the match. And then I remember Matt Hardy was threatening to hit a twist of fate on Queen Sharmell if King Booker did not get off the ladder, because Booker was close to actually grabbing the briefcase. So the Hardys, one of my favorite tag teams in professional wrestling, possibly my favorite tag team of all time, and my favorite of the 3 teams that ultimately revolutionized tag team wrestling with the TLC matches. So number 7 are the Hardy Boys.
Yes.
And you never know. You can see them back here at WrestleMania 33.
Yep.
I would love to see them there.
It would be awesome. They came out during New Day's possible segment, probably, since they're the host, but we'll have to see where that goes.
We need the Hardys, we need the Revival, and we need #DIY on the main roster.
Yes, we do.
That as Dan says, the tag team division needs a revival.
For real. It really does.
We're going to make the tag team division great again.
Oh my God. We can make the tag team division great again. Yes, I love Linda. I love Vince. I'm going to bring some of my people. We're going to make the tag team division great again.
And we can never have a video collaboration without a Trump impersonation. Danny does that, but he couldn't make it, so we did it for him tonight.
Everyone, that'll do it for my live review.
And accordingly, now here, Robbie has to do his impersonation of Dan, which is very classy, I shall say, Robbie.
It is.
All right, so number 10 on my list. This is going to be a surprise to you guys, but number 10 on my list is the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? Number 1 on my list, Donald J. Trump.
Oh my goodness.
I'm done. I can't.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Anyway. Daniel, we miss you, man. We're horsemen. We ride together, bro.
Hopefully I'll be back together next week.
Oh man, I hope so.
I just want to get a plug in. Remember, guys, to tune into my live review of SmackDown Live. We're gonna take a look at everything that happened following AJ Styles' assault.
Oh dear Lord.
Oh, my stomach hurts.
Anyways, getting back on track here for a second.
Yeah.
My number 7 was someone we've actually talked about already. Both of you guys already mentioned him, and that is Triple H. Again, the matches he's done, the triple threat against HBK and Chris Benoit, the match against Cena at WrestleMania 22. But of course, one thing that since from the matches I've definitely seen live for Triple H, I've seen him fight Lesnar live, him and Daniel Bryan. Him and Sting, and even last year, don't want to talk about that one. That one doesn't count. But one thing I do like how what Triple H has done at WrestleMania is that he has been a stepping stone, helping putting over people and making them have a legacy at WrestleMania as well. Like I said, with Batista, Daniel Bryan. Hopefully this year it's the same case with Seth Rollins. And, of course, going back to his matches with The Undertaker, I actually have not yet seen the one at WrestleMania 17, but the ones I've seen at WrestleMania 27, and especially 28. My favorite one is definitely WrestleMania 28 with the End of the Era match. And the craziest kick-out, sweet chin music into the pedigree. It's just some of the greatest performances I've seen. So whether he's either winning matches, tearing people apart, or if he's putting over being stepping stones for others, getting those WrestleMania moments. Gotta respect all the work he has done. That's why Triple H is my number 7.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Gene. Sorry.
Oh no, I wasn't saying anything. Just great choice.
I was gonna say that's one thing I respect Triple H for what he's achieved in the business. Some people love him, some people hate him, but I also respect him for what he's doing with NXT. And yeah, you look back at WrestleMania. I mean, one of my favorite matches also that doesn't get a lot of talk is him, Orton, and Cena in the triple threat from 24. That was a really fun. That was a great fun triple threat match for the WWE Championship. So yeah, Triple H, he may have had he's had good to great matches. He may have some solid, decent ones, but he's left a mark in WrestleMania.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the other thing too is he talk about a true heel. He's done a good job as well, I've noticed, getting guys like Daniel Bryan, even Seth Rollins now, getting all that heat on him and making you really want to cheer for the baby faces and really wanting him to lose. That's another thing I got to give credit to how good Triple H has done. So,
yeah, sorry, I was going to say this real quick.
Go ahead.
I love how he's, when he's on NXT, he's like the face. But when he's on the main roster, he's the heel. I just love how he can do both roles like that. He's great.
It works out so good, definitely. And because we're not getting sympathy for heels in his feuds like some of these are, such as the Club and some of their feuds they've had. But not to go down that path. Let's move on now to number 6. Robbie, why don't you start us off with your number 6?
Well, my number 6 is the guy that I just mentioned in Daniel's number 10, and that's the Macho Man Randy Savage. Very colorful personality in the ring. Like I said earlier, Macho Man's match with Ultimate Warrior is one of my all-time favorites in not just WrestleMania history, but just in professional wrestling in general. He also had a great match with Ric Flair at WrestleMania 8. And the moment, arguably his greatest WrestleMania moment, is WrestleMania 4, the night that Macho Madness ran wild during that vacant WWF Championship tournament. He wrestled 4 times, and of course, he made it to the finals where he beat the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase to become the new WWF champion. He also had a really good match with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 5, and it was a match where the crowd was 50-50. Arguably. Obviously, I meant to say Macho Man was the heel in that match because he betrayed Liz, he betrayed Hogan. But there were fans that wanted to see Savage win. There were fans that wanted to see Hogan win. And I think that's great when a heel is able to actually make the fans cheer for him, even if he's doing heelish things. And I mean, another part of it was that I think fans were just sick of seeing Hogan always win the championship at that time. But Macho Man has had great matches at WrestleMania. He had that beautiful moment with Liz at WrestleMania 7. Where the women's shoes were tight, or they must have ate a chili dog with onions. But no, again, what I like about Savage is like with Chris Jericho. His personality is very colorful. It's very unique, and it to me it embodies what WrestleMania is all about. With performers, he's a true WrestleMania performer. So, like I said, great matches, great moments. WrestleMania 4, of course, where he came out in 4 different ring gears, in 4 different matches to go on and ultimately win the championship. And how can I forget this? One other classic match, the match with Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3, which has been praised by many as one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. It influenced guys like Edge and Chris Jericho. So Macho Man has had his fair share of Mania moments, and I just love going back and looking at his classic Mania matches. And he's just he's awesome. He's the Macho Man. What else can I say?
You can't teach that.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
Burning. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Macho Man is coming straight at you. The Club of the Man 1993. Because I'm on a roll and I ain't stopping. Yeah.
Hey, stop me. Yeah. All right. So I'll go next. My number 6 is someone who has been mentioned already and someone who I still wish I would be able to watch live, and that is Edge. He's had a lot of matches at WrestleMania in his career, doing in the Triangle Ladder match, the TLC 2 match, of course. Also, whenever he speared Jeff Hardy off of the ladder and in air, that's still one of the sickest moves I ever seen in highlights, and definitely have gone back and watched that match. He won the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match as well. His match with Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22, I believe it was, the hardcore match.
Yeah, was that 23?
Oh, was it 23?
Yeah, I believe that was 23. Oh, was it 22?
Yeah, because 23 is the Money in the Bank where it was him, the Hardys, Orton, Kennedy.
Yeah, that's right. That was 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. 22 then. But yeah, that match, of course, with him spearing Foley into that table with fire on it, that was just sick as heck. And then, of course, even though for most of 2008, I believe he was feuding with Taker, in his match feuded with Taker as well. His match, I mean, even though it was not really one of the higher rated matches, I'd say his match with Chris Jericho, WrestleMania 26 as well, when he made his surprise turn at the Rumble and then went on to feud against Jericho. And I know he had a match against Big Show and John Cena at WrestleMania 25. John Henry, wow. How did I group up that one? Probably think of Mark Henry.
That's great, dude. I only say that's great because I was like studying on John Henry and the railroad and everything, the steel driving man. Wow, that's great. That is the most random thing. That is the most like random moment in YouTube right there.
Yes.
John Henry.
I think it's John Henry.
Millions.
John Henry, when John Henry, the steel driving man, made his WrestleMania appearance.
But then also keep in mind too, despite it being one of the worst WrestleManias, WrestleMania 27, he wrestled his final match in WWE and was able to win retain the World Heavyweight Championship against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania 27 before announcing his retirement a week or so afterwards due to injury. But yes, definitely a Hall of Fame career. Definitely wish I would have been able to watch him live. My number 6 is Edge.
Yeah,
great choice.
And Edge also had one other match at WrestleMania that I don't think a lot of people even remember. I saw it like not too long ago, and I thought it was a good, solid match. It was him and Booker T at WrestleMania 18. But here's the thing: it was over their feud was over the stupidest reason. I don't know if you guys remember, but Booker T was the heel at the time, and he was trying to win a spot in a Japanese shampoo commercial.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Edge took that spot from him.
He was mad.
My gosh,
the Booker T brand
of all things. I'm sure
that was so stupid.
I'm sure it's not as bad as some of the stuff we've seen today.
Oh, it's not.
No, that is something you probably would see in today's product on
Probably,
Raw.
yes.
But you wouldn't get the good match.
The match itself was a good, solid match. They could have had a better match, but I just really hate the fact that a shampoo commercial is what brought those two together at WrestleMania.
I remember Edge did the Spinneroonie in that match too. Oh my god.
That was an okay Spinneroonie. That was
Yeah, he should probably never do that again.
Nah, yeah.
Oh jeez. But yes, let's go to Gene for your number 6 pick.
So my number 6 pick is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. That just seems to be the theme of this list. And his name is John Cena. I knew it. John Cena.
You can't see me.
I knew he was gonna say Cena, and I had a feeling when he stopped, he was gonna play that John Cena prank call moment.
I had to steal your gimmick, man.
See, taking moves from my playbook, huh? Trying to steal my.
I stole your gimmick, and of course, I'm biased towards John Cena. Some people probably wouldn't put him in the top 10, of all-time performers, but of course, I'm a huge Cena fan, and they don't call him Big Match John for no reason. We talked about it earlier, the match he had with Triple H, and that was a great match. Hell of a match with Shawn Michaels at 23, and The once in a lifetime match he had with The Rock was great. I don't know why they did twice in a lifetime. That was just completely stupid.
Because Cena had to get his win back.
Yeah, of course, Cena has to get his win back. I will admit to that. He always gets his win back. It's starting to look like that's how Reigns is. But
yeah, that's anyway, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, but like he had a match with Big Show, I believe at WrestleMania 20 when he took the US Championship, and then the very next year he faced JBL, took the WWE Championship from him. So, you know, definitely had great matches, great moments, and of course John Cena was going to make the list.
I didn't see you leaving it off your list at all, Jinx. I know how big of a fan you are of him.
I'm a John Cena mark.
Not a problem at all. So let's move on to number 5 now, I believe. I will go first. My number 5, and all I got to say is, hit the smile! My number 5 is The Rock. I put down The Rock. He's had his battle. He's had his several battles with Stone Cold at WrestleMania, which I know are very legendary. His battle with Hogan in 2002, and of course, the one match that I enjoy most with The Rock at WrestleMania is Once in a Lifetime. That ending, though, just the abrupt finish. Well, I didn't say abrupt finish, but just came out of nowhere with Cena thinking he's going to be win the people's elbow. Now nowhere, just rock bottom. It just all came right back. Just Karma just bit back and slammed him right down, and he with the rock bottom. But then, of course, also from the stuff that I've been able to see, also his appearances at WrestleMania, such as the one I mentioned last week. I think you mentioned this too, G. I can't remember. I think Dan did, but the segment at the beginning of WrestleMania 30 with him, Hogan, and Stone Cold. That was just a great moment, and as well as also whenever he appeared at WrestleMania 31, and then he brings Ronda Rousey in from the crowd and says, "Oh, I can't hit you, girl, but I will gladly find someone who would love to." Right.
Oh man.
Oh yes.
Definitely great. The only blemish is that dang second in a lifetime, and then him beating Eric. What was his name? Eric Rowan. Yeah, that guy. Don't know why that happened.
He was only brought back last year just so he can be the one to say, "Oh, we broke the WrestleMania attendance record this year." No one gave a crap.
Yeah, and it probably was.
Should have used The Rock for like possible Roman Reigns heel turn or something.
Yes. A Roman Reigns heel turn, him facing The Rock at WrestleMania 34. That would actually be very awesome, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah.
Imagine he comes out and kicks The Rock's ass, like as The Rock's trying to put him over again, like he did at the Royal Rumble, or tried to.
Yeah.
That'd be his heel turn? What? That'd be great.
Probably.
Won't happen, though.
Yep. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, let's go with Robbie with your number 5.
All right, so coming in at number 5. Now, this is going to be a very special and unique pick. When I was looking through my list, I've already stated like what I considered when I was trying to come up with my top 10 WrestleMania performers. But this performer isn't necessarily one who did his best work in the ring. This is a performer who did his best work outside the ring, particularly at the announcer's table. And there's only one man on this list who is arguably the greatest announcer. Well, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest announcers, if not the greatest announcer in WrestleMania history. Greatest play-by-play guy, the Oklahoma Boomer Sooner himself, good old JR Jim Ross.
Nice.
Ooh, nice one.
That's a great pick.
That's a swerve, so to speak. None of you guys saw it coming, but I thought about it, and even though JR never wrestled at a WrestleMania, and technically he was a performer because he performed commentary for WrestleManias 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, and the list goes on. And arguably, JR has done some of the best commentary at WrestleMania, whether it was him calling the end of the triple threat match with Chris Benoit winning the world title, him calling Pete Rose getting tombstone for the first time, the Austin era has begun. So many iconic lines JR has dropped at WrestleMania. The one that always gives me goosebumps is during 18 when Hogan drops the leg drop on The Rock, and JR just says he beat Andre the Giant with that move. The way he calls that moment is so epic. It gives me goosebumps. I don't know if JR would ever make anybody's top 10 WrestleMania performances. I don't know if they'd even stop to consider JR, but JR has always been my favorite my favorite commentator in the business, and he's had some of his best moments at WrestleMania, you know, and I think this list was just the perfect chance to honor his work and his accomplishments at WrestleMania. Like I said, he never was in the ring, but he performed outside as part of commentary, and he just gave us some of the best commentary he could. And that's why JR is on my list. And on a more serious note, I want to extend my prayers and thoughts to JR and his family because his wife had an accident.
Oh, man.
Oh, geez.
Well, she's in surgery. So, yeah, my best thoughts and prayers go out to JR. And he's number 5 on my list because there's nobody like Jim Ross.
Yeah, I heard about that today with his wife. I really hope everything goes okay with that. And it's just terrible to hear about.
Oh, yeah, me too, definitely. All right, Gene, what about your number 5?
My number 5, once again, this is a guy who could probably be number 1. Like, this list was so hard in terms of placing people because I didn't want to undershadow anybody by placing them, you know, lower on the list than others. But my number 5 pick is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Ooh, nice one.
Man, along with Kurt Angle, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and of course at WrestleMania, and he's done battle with the best of them: Roddy Piper, Yokozuna twice, his own brother Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, that Iron Man match, and of course Stone Cold Steve Austin, that iconic match where Austin passed out. They did the double turn. Bret is just, you know, a hell of a worker. You guys know this, of course, and you know there's not much more to say about him. He's one of the greatest of all time. Definitely had some great WrestleMania matches and is definitely one of the best WrestleMania performers.
Definitely, yes.
Definitely.
Good pick there, Gene.
Yeah.
Bret, I'm just gonna say it right now, Bret isn't on my list. He would definitely be an honorable mention. You know, this is just my picks.
It's so hard to pick people, man.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Bret was in the opening bout with Owen, that match at WrestleMania 10. What an incredible opener that was. Bret's also had, you know, iconic matches with Roddy Piper, which I have yet to see.
I need to go back and watch that myself.
I gotta check that out myself as well.
I was trying to catch my breath real quick, but yeah. No, yeah, because I'm just talking, you know, grabbing a swig of water. But yeah, Bret's also been in the Iron Man match with Shawn, the classic submission match with
Austin.
Yes. So yeah, Bret's had his fair share of classic, you know, WrestleMania moments, and I respect Bret for what he's achieved. I'm just saying, like, he's not on my list. And if he heard me say that, or he heard Gene pick him as number 5, right? He'd probably say something like, hold on.
Pay for it.
Yeah. You probably say,
This is bullshit!
I should be number 1.
Start dropping promos on us.
Pretty much. Oh, gosh.
Oh, you gotta love Bret Hart.
Oh, yes, indeed. All right. So that's everybody's number 5, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
All right. So we are now down to our top 4 now. And we'll start off with Robbie. Robbie, what was your number 4?
well, my number 4 is your number 5, actually, Mike. The Jabroni Bee. Pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raiser, heart stopping, elbow dropping, people's champ, The Rock.
So was mine. You did it. You did it this time. That's my number 4.
Oh,
wow. Number 4. Hey, number 4 is The Rock, and let's not also forget there's one other thing about Rock that makes him very special.
The biggest thing to hit Canada cut the Maple Leafs suck.
I love The Rock, man.
That was heel Rock in 2003. But yeah, number 4 on my list is The Rock. Simply electrifying. Has had great matches throughout his career, his WrestleMania run. I love his match with Austin at WrestleMania 17, one of my all-time favorites. Awesome match, you know, just great back and forth action. They bled. They just beat the hell out of each other for the championship. His match with Hogan was huge.
Iconic.
Yes, very iconic because of their caliber. It was one icon versus another. Rock, you know, has also gone on to have one of my favorite matches. It didn't make my WrestleMania matches list, but it's one of my favorites that he was involved in, was him and Mick Foley versus Evolution. I thought that was a great match for WrestleMania 20.
Yes, that was oh man, that's underlooked.
I gotta check that one out.
I thought that was great.
Check that match out.
Very underrated. You know,
Rock and Sock connection.
Go and think about it. We had to wait 8 years after that WrestleMania for Rock to return. We didn't think Rock was going to have another WrestleMania match. We were hoping for it. And then he showed up at WrestleMania 7. He screwed John Cena out of the title, and it set the stage for once in a lifetime, which was awesome. Then, of course, it was twice in a lifetime. The less we say about that, the better.
Yes, indeed.
Just getting to see Rock in person at WrestleMania 31 was great. Him and Ronda Rousey. I seriously thought we were going to get him and Ronda versus Triple H and Stephanie the next year at 32. I would have preferred that.
Oh, yes.
That would have been great.
Awesome for what it was. But, you know, Rock's awesome. He's had great matches throughout his career. You know, his trilogy with Austin, his match with Hogan at 18, his you know, teaming up with Mick Foley, reuniting the Rock and Sock connection to fight Evolution at 20. Yeah, The Rock is The Rock. And what else can I say? What else can I say that we haven't said? Rock's just awesome.
Yeah, he's just incredible.
Yeah,
definitely.
Like, I haven't seen him live at WrestleMania because, of course, I haven't been there. But I went to a Raw. Remember when him and John Cena? I think this was before their first match. They had that concert, or The Rock did the Rock concert or something like that. After John Cena brought back Thugonomics.
Yeah,
I was there for that. Like when he's in the building, like, and I hated Rock back then because, like I said, John Cena fan. But like he's just in the building, you can just feel just a different level of energy. Like he just brings it, literally.
That was when he did the "We Will Rock You" song, right?
Yes, and I freaking hated it. Oh my god!
Oh god!
I love The Rock, but I hated it at that time because of, you know, John Cena.
Yeah,
understandable.
But yeah, he was definitely one of the greatest WrestleMania performers ever.
But I agree that they should have done something better with him at 32 than just bring him out and have him light his name on fire.
All that hype for all that, you know?
They didn't have to do anything else after that. Why did he have to face Eric Rowan? What was the point?
To bury the wife.
Eric Rowan doesn't have much of a – he's getting his ass kicked, so no loss there.
Literally.
And probably to have a reason to have Cena come out also at Mania as well, maybe.
I mean, he could have just brought Cena out. Like Cena was still hurt at that time a little bit.
Or they could have just had like a Rock, Austin, Hogan moment there with Cena and Rock just celebrating the attendance record.
The attendance record. That's
yeah.
He didn't have to bring the Wyatts out to get buried like that. Thank God Bray Wyatt bounced back from that, and Luke Harper.
Yes.
But Rowan,
Yes.
Rowan's still gone. Strowman, well, he's a little wounded now, but we'll see where that goes. Did you have anything else to add for The Rock since you had him also, Gene?
No, that was pretty much it. We've pretty much talked about him this whole list. Like, there's nothing more you can really say about him. He's just great.
All right.
He's the great one.
Yes, indeed. All right, so I'll do my number 4, and my numbers 1 to 4. Any of these guys could have easily been number 1. In fact, most of these guys on this list could have been number 1. But my number 4 is Austin 316, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold.
The first thing I want you to do is to get that piece of trash out of my ring. You sit there and you thump your Bibles and he didn't get you anything. Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
What?
Oh my goodness. But yes, Stone Cold, you know, he had the double turn with Bret Hart, as we talked about before, WrestleMania 13. That was one that really got Stone Cold J-Rock getting up to the top as the man. He had his battles with The Rock, as I said before. We talked about The Rock, and of course his guest appearances at WrestleManias as well, or WrestleMania 30, like I said before, that iconic moment with him, Rock, and Hogan in the ring, as well as, even though the match between New Day and the League of Jobbers last year sucked, afterwards, what happened afterwards washed away the bad taste in my mouth from that, when him, Foley, and HBK came out. I thought that was a pretty sweet moment there. So my number 4 is Stone Cold.
Definitely. No, I was gonna say, yeah, that New Day League of Jobbers match was decent. It felt like something you'd see on Raw. But seeing Austin, Foley, and Shawn Michaels come out together, that was great. And then I love how Stone Cold was just dancing with Xavier. And then
Oh my god! And then he hit him with the stunner. He sold it too.
Yeah, that was great.
Speaking of stunner, I gotta say it, but he's officially giving a Stone Cold stunner to the President of the United States now. my boss told me that like a couple days after the election, he's like, yeah, Donald Trump is now the only president that ever hit the Stone Cold stunner. I'm like, for real?
Oh my goodness.
Oh yes.
I did the worst stunner ever. I went with Vince in the back and we laughed.
Oh my goodness. And another thing about him too, about my boss, is that he actually looks a lot like Cesaro. I'm not even joking you. I'm like, hey, it's a Swiss Superman. We work with him. Sweet. But not to get off subject. Let's get back here. Number 3 we're on. Gene, we'll start with you. What's your number 3?
Well, since you conveniently placed me right after you, my number 3 is your number 4. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes.
Yeah, you said it best, man. Like, he's just had incredible moments. He's just an ass kicker. We've talked about it like 30,000 times. The match he had with Bret Hart and the double turn, him with he donned the proverbial crimson mask, and oh my goodness, the matches he had with Rock, and just him just going into WrestleMania, stomping mud holes, walking them dry, and just kicking a bunch of ass, open up a bunch of cans of whoop ass on everybody. And the fans have always loved Austin, even when he was the heel.
Yep.
Oh yes, definitely. I will go next, and then Robbie. My number 3. 1 second. Well, let me tell you something, brother. My number 3 is Gene's number 10, Hulk Hogan. What can I say about Hogan? He had that iconic match with Andre the Giant when he slammed him down. The match also between him and Randy Savage around the time when the Mega Powers erupted and they split, and it was that 50-50 crowd like he said earlier.
Yeah.
He did he had that. Also, I saw in my research, so he had like a match between the Intercontinental title and the World title, I believe, with Warrior as well. I never saw that match. I don't know how well that one went, but and of course he went to transition from WWE to WCW, but then he came back and he had his matches with The Rock in 2002, Vince McMahon in 2003. And also, he was the host of WrestleMania 30, and he also got the name of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. We're all calling it the Silverdome as well.
The Silverdome brothers.
Superdome, Hogan, not Silverdome.
And he knew he messed that up too. You can tell, but yep, Hogan, my number 3.
Great choice.
Oh yes. And Robbie, what is your number 3?
Before I get to my number 3, the first thing I want to do is I'm sending a message to Daniel Garza. You ain't the only one, son, that can do a Stone Cold impersonation, and that's the bottom line.
Stone
Cold.
That's so.
Okay, well, my number 3 is ironically Gene's number 3 and my number 4. And that is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh gosh!
Again.
Oh
man, I'm interested about these last 2.
Yeah, really, we've pretty much said everything. Austin, I was a huge fan of his growing up. I always loved to see him on pay-per-view. Again, like Rey Mysterio, always rooted for Austin to win in whatever match he had, with the one exception being 17, because it was 2 of my all-time favorites going at it. I really didn't know who I wanted to see win. And even though Austin's heel turn didn't go as he was hoping, I mean, just to see him at 17 shake hands with Vince McMahon, it was like hell froze over. They were sharing a beer, and he sold his soul to win the WWE Championship. It was crazy. But again, Austin's had great matches, great moments. Like I mentioned earlier, him coming out, dancing with Xavier Woods, and then just saying, well, fuck you, fool, with a stunner.
Oh my goodness.
And I love the fact that he came out in a shirt that said Dallas 316.
Yes, that was great.
In a shirt that said Dallas 316 and jeans and sneakers. I mean, it's Stone Cold. How can you not be excited to see the Rattlesnake at WrestleMania? You know, love his matches with Rock. Love his match with Bret. You know, his match with Shawn was good. It would have been better had Shawn not been in the terrible shape he was in, you know, physically and mentally. Well, not physically, but mentally. He was not there. He had back problems, of course. But yeah, I mean, that moment of him winning the WWE Championship for the first time, the beginning of the Austin era, and then him conquering The Rock and conquering Vince the next year at 15, and him standing on top of Vince with the championship in his hand was just great. You know, Austin's one of my all-time favorites, a true WrestleMania icon, and I mean,
what more can you say about him, really?
Yeah.
Well, we pretty much said it 50 million times because this how much we love the guy. So yeah. Number 3, Stone Cold is going to walk into WrestleMania and he's going to whip some ass. Hell yeah.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, Stone Cold ain't going to be eating his bootios. He's just going to be opening a can of Steve Weiser and whooping ass.
He not going to eat his bootios. Wow.
Bootios.
Oh, my God.
Maybe
You ain't
booty. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. All right, so with about T-minus 22 minutes away until SmackDown Live, we each have our number 1 and 2 left. So this is the time we've been waiting for. Who will be our numbers 1 and 2? And I'll go first. For me, it was tough because these two guys, I knew it either my number 1 or number 2.
I feel like we all have the same guys.
Yeah.
Most likely, but what order do we have them in? So after thinking about it deeply, I decided to go with my number 2 being this guy. Gong. The Undertaker is my number 2. 23-1 at WrestleMania lifetime. He has had matches against a lot of people, as we know. Edge, Ric Flair, Randy Orton. 2 against Shawn Michaels. He retired him at WrestleMania 26. WrestleMania 25, probably one of the best matches by far in WrestleMania history, probably. Almost a perfect match, as Shawn Michaels said, except one little mistake. That moonsault he made at the end that led to a tombstone. His feud with Triple H as well, both at 27 and 28, and 17, as mentioned earlier by you guys. And of course, his match with CM Punk at WrestleMania 29. And then the streak came to that crashing end that we were all shocked that night at WrestleMania 30. That, again, if Daniel Bryan was not on that show and got the push he got that night,
that would be the worst Mania ever.
Probably, and one of the saddest. And then his matches with Bray Wyatt at 31 and with Shane McMahon, they were okay, but not like my most favorite ones, of course. But definitely, you know, he is one person that's made WrestleMania the way it is. So I'm going with my number 2 as The Undertaker.
Great choice.
Yes, indeed. Who should I go with next? Let's go with Robbie. Robbie, what's your number 2?
Okay, my number 1 and 2, arguably these guys, you could have them at either rank because they're 2 of the true legends in WrestleMania history. So my number 2 is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
You know, I've said multiple times that Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time. He's been given the moniker Mr. WrestleMania, and he's been given that moniker for a reason, because whether it was a good match or a not so good match, a decent match, Shawn Michaels has gone out there and he has given it his all. Yes, Shawn has had many classic matches. He's had a few classic matches at WrestleMania, the Iron Man match with Bret, the 2 classic wars with Taker, him and Kurt Angle at 21, him and Jericho at 19. Shawn Michaels has just been an incredible performer. Again, he's one of those guys that really rises to the occasion whenever WrestleMania comes around. And, you know, of course, Shawn is one of the greatest of all time, but I feel like at WrestleMania, that's his Christmas. That's when he really goes out there and he just does whatever he can to steal the show. He really leaves us with something to remember him by. And, you know, I never got to see Shawn Michaels wrestle live at WrestleMania. I've seen Shawn live in person before, but I never got to see him at a WrestleMania. But seeing him at 31, when he came out and he super kicked Sting,
my goodness.
Yes, that one came out of nowhere. I'm like, what?
Shit, when Shawn Michaels came out, there's a video. I have a video on my digital camera of me just marking out, chanting "Holy shit" and HBK because that was awesome. Just Shawn Michaels. I mentioned the classic matches he's been in. I love the match he had with Taker at 25. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better match from those 2. Match with Kurt Angle, a little underrated, but that's an instant classic. Match with Jericho is one of my all-time favorites. Shawn Michaels has just put on great match after great match, and he's left us with many iconic WrestleMania moments, from the ladder match with Razor to him retiring Ric Flair, as emotional as that was, to Shawn taking his final bow at WrestleMania 26 in the main event, which is very fitting because he was what's one of his nicknames? The main event. So
yes,
Shawn Michaels, one of my all-time favorites, a true WrestleMania icon, a true WrestleMania legend, and I mean, yeah, you could rank him number 1. You could rank him number 2. I have him number 2 because, I mean, my number 1 is probably obvious, but either way, Shawn Michaels is what WrestleMania is all about. He's Mr. WrestleMania.
Yes, he is indeed. All right, Gene, what's your number 2?
We have an interesting dynamic here. Mike, you've chosen The Undertaker as number 2. And Robbie, you've chosen Shawn Michaels as number 2. So which placement did I put either of these guys? Well, my number 2 is currently running the yard, and that person being
Roman Reigns.
Big dog. Roman Reigns.
Oh my!
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Wait,
hold on. Wait, chill. Okay, I'm playing.
Right. I know. Don't worry.
I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, what? A little overrated, but okay.
No, my number 2 pick is the dead man, The Undertaker, who probably would have been number 1 on this list, which it was so hard. I literally went back and forth. And I don't think placing either of these 2 guys at either 1 or 2 is disrespectful to either one of them, because they're right there. 2 of the greatest of all time. But I put Undertaker at number 2 only because he doesn't have the streak anymore. Now, I understand he's still one of the best performers of all time, but I feel like that takes away from it a little bit because WWE just wanted to give it to Brock Lesnar. But what can we say about The Undertaker that we don't already know, that everybody doesn't know already? You know, I just feel like Shawn Michaels maybe just 1%, 0.1% better than The Undertaker in WrestleMania. But of course he's legendary, had one of the greatest streaks of all time that unfortunately came to an end. But in the matches before that, I wouldn't say complete total dominance, but he found a way to win 21 straight matches before running into Brock Lesnar. And he took down some great names: Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Diesel, Kane, Orton, Ric Flair. Even Shane McMahon tried to step up to the plate, the year after or whatever, or 2 years after. No, wait. Yeah, 32 is when Shane tried to, whatever, put him out of his misery or whatever. But Undertaker is definitely one of the greatest WrestleMania performers ever because, building up that streak for so long, it was just like, dang, like this guy is amazing. Like, who's going to take him down? They had to go get the damn beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar, to do it. And that kind of says a lot because Brock Lesnar, it took him years to even step up to the plate to face Undertaker. So that just says a lot about how great Taker is. And he finally put away the streak. But Taker is still one of the greatest WrestleMania performers of all time.
Definitely can't take that away from him at all.
Yeah, you can. You can't take it away from him. Legendary.
Oh, yeah. All right. So even though it might seem a little obvious now who our number 1s are, but you never know, let's go to our number 1s for our top 10 WrestleMania performers. We'll start with you, Robbie. Who is your number 1?
My number 1 is pretty obvious. He is my second favorite wrestler of all time. He's another name synonymous with WrestleMania, and it's The Undertaker. I mean, what Gene said pretty much sums up what I was going to say. He's had the one thing, when you think of WrestleMania and The Undertaker, you think of the streak. And yeah, I know the streak is not alive, but still, even at 23-1, that's pretty damn impressive. Taker's only lost once at a WrestleMania. And the unique story about the streak was that it wasn't supposed to go that way. Taker just started winning. And then eventually WWE just decided they were going to make a streak out of it because they saw that he was just beating, he kept beating guys left and right at Mania. The streak really came to life at 10. Or not 10,
Yeah.
18 when Taker did the 10-0 thing with his hands.
Yeah, after he beat up Ric Flair.
Yeah. Against Flair, like I mentioned at in our favorite Mania matches video. But Taker's had so many great matches, some of my favorites. you know, against Triple H, HBK. Had, in my opinion, a great Hell in a Cell match with Shane McMahon, although it was a more methodical, slow-paced Hell in a Cell match. He's battled Diesel, and one of my personal favorites, he battled Kane, he battled Randy Orton. The list goes on. Taker is just like Shawn Michaels. He's one of those names synonymous with Mania. He's a WrestleMania legend, a WrestleMania icon. He's one of my all-time favorites, and the fact that I got to see him live in person, because I was concerned about Taker going into 31, because after frail he looked against Bray, I was so unsure if he was even going to put on, if he was even going to wrestle against Bray. I heard there was rumors that either him or Bray sprayed their ankle going into that match. And then when I saw Taker come out and he was healthy, he had his hair growing back, I was like,
he looked a little bit better than he did at WrestleMania 30.
Yeah. I was so happy to see Taker. I felt he put on a good, solid big man match with Bray. And just Taker is one of the greatest, if not the greatest performer in WrestleMania history. And in my opinion, he is my favorite WrestleMania performer of all time. Can't really say much more. He's the big dog. Taking souls, digging holes.
Digging holes and taking souls.
And he may just take Roman Reigns' soul come 33.
We can only hope.
I would hope so too. Speaking of the WrestleMania 31 match, I don't know if you guys remember the build for that match between him and Bray. There was that segment on Raw where Wyatt's still waiting for an answer, and they did that lightning strike down, and that's when Taker answered. That was in Pittsburgh, actually.
Was it? You were there for that?
Dan and I were there for that, yes. Because I remember I marked out big time. I'm just like, holy shit.
Like, was that, like, the way it came across on TV, it looked like it was fake. Like, how did that come across in real? Like,
I was just shocked. Like, that was like one of the last things that I had ever expected to happen, honestly. It was just like, wait, did that really just happen? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, what the hell?
Oh, yes. That was very cool to see.
I did like the build to Bray versus Taker, with Bray coming out in the casket and claiming and declaring himself the new face of fear and everything. So, you know, I like the build. And yes, Bray could have gone over because there was no streak. But it's Undertaker. I mean, I can't hate Undertaker. And just to see him win a Mania match live was great, even though the streak was dead at that point. But still, it's Undertaker. How can you not like and respect that man for what he's achieved in wrestling, you know?
Definitely, yes. I agree completely.
Name one person who has, like, serious beef with Undertaker. Or name one person who just hates Taker, you know?
I can't really think of any off the top of my head.
Can't think of it. I've never really heard a bad thing about Taker. Like,
not at all.
I believe, like, not to get off track or anything, but I heard Gregory Helms one time say, you know, Undertaker just being the leader of the locker room helped him out a lot when he transitioned from the Hurricane to Gregory Helms. Yeah, and he was just pretty much telling him, you know, some tips and whatever. So Taker has always been, you know, well respected around the whole wrestling world.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely. All right, Gene, who's your number one?
I'm not gonna do any gimmicks or anything. It's not Roman Reigns. Of course, it is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. That is my favorite WrestleMania performer of all time. Coined Mr. WrestleMania for a reason, because he always goes out there, the showstopper, and steals the show. You know, I chose him over Undertaker because I feel like he's had better matches than Undertaker, and that's not a shot at Undertaker, okay? Because Undertaker has had incredible matches as well. But you know, the latter match he had with Razor Ramon at 10, he retired Ric Flair, put over and out wrestled John Cena at 23, and I will be the first one to admit that. You know, his match against Austin could have been better probably, but it was all right. Jericho, Kurt Angle, like, it didn't really matter who he faced. He was an entertainer, a great wrestler. He captivated audiences like no other, well, maybe other than Undertaker. And then, you know, his best work came in his final two WrestleMania matches against The Undertaker and, you know, the back-to-back years.
Yes.
And I still put those matches up there as two of the greatest of all time. And, you know, just how he elevated his opponents to get on his level as well, but just tried to outdo them, but still made them look good in the process. Just his intensity was just a great combination and very entertaining. And that's why he's my favorite WrestleMania performer of all time. Of all time!
And if I could just say one thing real quick, because I know we're on a tight schedule. Did you guys ever think, after seeing Shawn Michaels the way he was at WrestleMania 14, did you ever think he would make the comeback that he did 4 years later and just have as the other iconic Mania matches he had.
Nope, didn't think so.
With the back injury, probably not.
Yeah, I thought it was over for him. He bounced back.
He was even better after he came back, right?
Yeah, he was even better. Those matches didn't happen until, after he came back. So thank God he did, because we probably would have never got those matches.
I don't think he would have been as high elevated as he is pretty much now.
Yeah, he wouldn't have.
Probably not. All right, so I will finish this up here. As my number one as well was HBK at WrestleMania 9. He vowed never to let anyone outshine him again. And what had happened? He had the classic match with Razor Ramon, the ladder match with him.
Yeah.
The WWE title win at WrestleMania 12. His match with Jericho. The triple threat against Triple H and Chris Benoit. His match with Kurt Angle, John Cena. The emotional moment of retiring Ric Flair with the "I'm sorry, I love you."
Yeah.
And then of course we said too, his matches with Taker, probably some of his best ones. And even so, appearances he's made here and there at WrestleMania. We talked about earlier in the end of an era match. He was a special guest referee. Was he going to help Triple H win the match? He tried to one time with the Sweet Chin Music and into the pedigree. He appeared at WrestleMania 31. We said also when he he Sweet Chin Music Sting, and then of course WrestleMania 32 when he came out with Foley and Stone Cold as well. So I mean Taker's done a lot too, again with the streak, but just so many different things Shawn Michaels has done, more of a variety. That's why I picked him as my number one.
Yeah, even when he wasn't in matches, he was still being entertaining and still, getting the shine put on him. Everything he did was just great. Right.
Yeah.
When he came out in the pants, I knew somebody was getting kicked. I'm like, where's Stan at? Where's Stan? He's gonna kick Stan.
I love how did I watch it? You. What's your name? Stan.
See, Stan.
See?
I just
kicked Stan.
But you know what's great about that is that Stan took that super kick, and years later he became a perfect 10.
Yeah, so maybe that was a perfect super kick.
Yes.
Yes, so.
And overall, guys, great picks.
Yeah, I agree.
Great lists.
Man, I enjoyed that.
Oh, yes, definitely. And even me, too, not watch as long as you guys. I think the list I came was pretty solid as well. A little surprise at the beginning with Rollins, Punk, Stratus. We got, heck, Robbie even said JR.
Right.
Trish was a real surprise. I did not put any women's wrestlers on this list. I almost cheated and put Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky, just because of that triple threat last year. But yeah, I had no women's wrestlers on my list, dude. So Trish was a great pick, straight up.
Hopefully we can have some in the future.
Probably will. I mean, with the 4 horsewomen we have now, I'm sure they're going to make a lot more solid moments as well and matches as well. So we actually have women's wrestlers now on the main roster and not just females who just come in and just show off their booties. But but yes, with that, guys, thank you for tuning in to not just one of my first ever live streams, but to this part 3 of our top 10 WrestleMania performers. We will hopefully have Daniel Geiza back with us next week. He will probably briefly share ours as well. As next week we wrap up our 4-part series of our Mania Memories on Gene's channel, which is BSP Wrestling, and we'll be talking about our top 10 WrestleMania pay-per-views. So once again, what is your top 10 WrestleMania performers? Leave us down in the comments section below. And before we get off to watch the A Show, the Blue brand SmackDown Live, let's get quick plugins from both Gene and Robbie here, just to endorse them really quick as well. They are both really great to hear from as well. I watch their videos whenever they get up. So Gene, Robbie, take it away.
I guess I'll go first. Like Mike said, thank you for having us on your channel. I know this is probably like your first live stream or whatever.
Yes.
Next week will be my first one. So that'll be great. But yeah, you guys can catch me over on BSP Wrestling Show on YouTube, where we will be wrapping up our 4-part series of WrestleMania Memories. I believe we're doing top WrestleMania pay-per-views?
Correct.
Or just WrestleManias in general. So yeah, you guys can catch me over there. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Gene Demand94. Same way the Club of Demand 93 is spelled, the DA.
Yes.
So, yeah, and thank you for having me on your channel once again. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, sure thing, Gene. And Robbie, take it away as well.
Let me tell you something, brother. I've always dreamed of, brother, but I got news for you. I'll be 102 years old, brother, by the time I step into the ring at SummerSlam. Every day the hosts are waking up.
Oh my God.
First off, I have to say thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys, with you and Gene. I am Robbie One Kenobi. I am now the master of sound, I guess.
Yep,
That's my gimmick.
That's the gimmick.
That's my gimmick, yeah. But thank you guys again. It's always a pleasure working with you. My channel is Robbie One Kenobi, ROBBIE, the number 1 KENOBI. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter with that, with my name spelled that way. Very passionate about what I do. Love collaborating with these guys. They're my brothers. They're my horsemen. We ride together and just continue to support all of our channels. And shout out to Daniel Geiser. We miss you, and we definitely hope to have you back next week. And please tune in next week when we are live on Gene's channel. We're just going to end it on a great note. And again, I love doing all these collaborations. So thank you again, Mike. Thank you again, Gene. And yeah, just keep supporting our product.
Definitely. Yes.
Go Pens.
Yes, go Pens. Well, yes, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, you can check me out here on YouTube at the Club of the Man 1993 and follow me on Twitter at the Man Airboy 93. So please make sure to click all of our subscribe buttons and like this video as well. Check out the other 2 parts we've done this WrestleMania series. They're in a separate playlist on my channel, and they'll be left in links down below in the description. So please stay tuned for more content to come, and do me a huge favor and go watch the Blue Brand A show tonight, SmackDown, which takes place in just 1 minute. So with that, guys,
Blue, baby.
go Team Blue.
Go Team Blue.
Team Blue.
So thank you guys again for tuning into this live broadcast. Again, leave down in the comment section below your top 10 WrestleMania performers, and we'll be back here next week wrapping up this Mania Moments series with our top 10 pay-per-views. Again, you can check that out on Gene's channel, BSP Wrestling Show. Until then, guys, we will see you all later.
Go watch AJ Styles. Go watch Alexa Bliss. Go watch Becky Lynch. Go watch Bray Wyatt. Go watch Team Blue right now, because I said so. Oh, hell yeah.
All right, guys, this has been awesome, but we shall go do that now. So we shall see you all later.